Now we're going to try this again. Hopefully the computer know-it-alls aren't going to try and tell me how to sell Toronto to the world. Thank you. If you fucking please, some goddamn respect. If anybody wants to call into question my level of respect within regards to some minor hood beefs involving comedians or crack dealers or any other basic nobody in the shadow world, what you shadow people gotta realize and appreciate, which I think most of you do because you're all very fucking intelligent people, is that someone that is in the public eye is very hard to dispose of. Now, I'm going to argue that, and keep in mind this is in the court of public opinion, that a similar situation was unfolded upon a certain Adolf Hitler in history. He was a young, promising artist with a vision for the future. And a bunch of ruthless assholes came in, took over his shit, made him look like he was in charge, and did some horrific things. Absolutely horrific things. Things that are so horrific, I had to create a character of a Jewish lawyer and then live that life for a while in order to really convey that message as a trained method actor. You want to look up my method acting ability, you can check in with Richard McKenna, one of the world's greatest acting teachers. He comes by this honestly, very honestly, by nature of who he learned the method from. You see, Brother McKenna was one of Sonia Moore's original, who was one of Stanislavski's, I apologize, original 16 students. So the levels, as far as separation between Mr. McKenna and Mr. Stanislavski is, well, very close. It's much better than when the method started getting fucked with by idiots like Meisner. ZAugg did make very good developments as far as sculpting a person off of an animal and so on and so forth. I kind of, in high school, came up with a weird conflation of ZAugg's method with Stanislavski's method as far as I understood it, which was to be in the moment and believe it at all times. And so that is how I kind of started to figure out how when people were bullying me because they were jealous of something that I had and I couldn't understand the reason why, logically, someone would have a problem with me that I hadn't done something to. Now, there are disclosures that are going to be coming out in the press about the nature of my childhood, about the nature of things that I've done or may not have done in the name of this country. And frankly, to be fucking frank about it, absolutely fucking frank about it, these are curse words now, keep in mind I'm a Mormon preacher, I don't really want to be disturbing business with art. So what I'm trying to suggest is this is a cultural redirect. Literally. Because artists are snobby, fascist cunts. Most of the time. You know, now only a really good artist in Toronto would know that. And you know why I know that? Supposed artists of Toronto, aka traitors, for sucking fucking cock for money and just selling your soul to America. My dad had so much money he could buy America. Now, I got picked on a lot in high school. Whether or not any of the Cawthra snobs want to fucking admit it because of my weird ass, crazy Mormon religion. So I had to learn how to blend in with a bunch of people that hated me because I was better than them. That doesn't make sense that one religion is better than the other religion, especially when you consider the fact that my ass would get banged in front of my mother when I was a little kid. And she would watch while the lights in the room were set up in a very theatric, almost torture style scenario. I didn't ask for my parents to do any of the things that they did to me. I didn't ask to be involved in what is quote unquote the program. I was an unwilling participant the entire time. Speaking of time, anybody that's done time knows that a cigarette is a great way to calm the fuck down. So you know what makes mental institutions in this country really bizarre is that psychiatrists play games with people over whether or not they can have a fucking cigarette. So what I'm trying to gently suggest to the Canadian public in general is that mental hospitals are a weird type of intelligence gathering system. And there are many doctors and lawyers involved. So I'm blowing the whistle on the Canadian Holocaust. So, mafia people, you didn't even know about the Canadian Holocaust. I'm literally asking you to wake up and potentially bang out all the dirty cops. Because all of your dirty cops are causing me so many problems. It's fucking ridiculous. They think I have beef with them because I have a security clearance. And they don't even understand how secure information works. And the reason why my psychiatric record is technically classified information is because in that record, I disclose that my father is a foreign government's intelligence operative. Now, in all reality, I can't really ascertain whether or not I was born in this country. From what I understand, my background is Swiss. So the Mormon religion is true. That is a fact that was drilled into my head as a kid. And the weird thing is, as an adult, I know it to be true. And here I am, smoking a cigarette, drinking what looks like a beer, but is actually a delicious ginger ale. Because I'm trying to quit smoking, because I'm trying to quit being a dirty stand-up comedian, because I'm trying to clean up Canadian culture. Because it's so fucking sick and twisted in this country, everyone's trying to suck America's dick, when it's Canada's time to say, give me a fucking blowjob, you ignorant cunt. Did I use the C word? Well, I just saw that on Friday nights at the church I grew up in building, they have marriage counseling classes for people to get along that have trouble getting along. That's the bottom line. However, I don't know if the people at the top of what I'm going to dub now, and keep in mind, I don't think the presidency of the church had any involvement in any of this, the quote-unquote Mormon experiment. Because I'm going to take credit for it Because what I have in my brain, as far as knowledge, to 11 dimensions of reality that is happening at every moment, should not be classified information, because that is a leap forward in human evolution. That is the bottom line of this human rights case that I'm bringing to the United Nations. And I'm acting in the capacity of a canon lawyer, which all priests, from what I understand, technically are. Now, I've only ever been an Aaronic priest in my religion, because I worked out some things about who my dad was at a very young age. I'd always cared a lot about a bunch of things that were happening in my dad's life. Because deep down inside, I always knew what he did for a living. So my dad is a big, scary guy. So when I say I'm the Don of the Mormon Mafia, again, not fucking around. I guess the first thing in the hood to understand about Mormons is we don't fuck around about our religion. Why? Because we have to fight for our fucking religion, just like the Jews in the Holocaust. And we've been suffering quietly while America has gotten on with its business of making fun of us. Because the history of the Mormon Church is so fucked up, it shows that people are religiously bigoted when it comes to new ideas. Joseph Smith was a kid that was 14 that saw the Bible in a different light. A better light. A more clear light. And I would put forward, as part of the ZAugg Psychotherapy Psychiatric Replacement Methodology, which is a framework for stopping a horrific experiment that has outlived its purpose, is literally the new version of psychotherapy. And if the government of Canada wants to suggest that my psychotherapy psychiatric replacement methodology is a problem to them for instantly calling into question the legitimacy of all the lawyers and doctors and nurses and security staff involved with these institutions, as well as the Corrections Canada's facilities, management, staff, and operations teams, and go full hog of everybody that's enlisted in every single rank and file. Because when you really, 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 really dig down to the bottom of it, it's going to be just like I said in my book, I was only ever an air cadet. But I had to do a bunch of stuff with the knowledge that I have that is classified, like a smart, educated Jewish lawyer person would do. And the crazy thing about being a Mormon, which I assume is just like the crazy thing about being a Jew or the crazy thing about being a Muslim, is that people in Canada, in their religion, seem to be disconnected from the way they were connected to their religion in their homelands. So when I say that the intelligence community illegally started a war in the Middle East, I'm not compromising any official secrets. I am simply deducing from the situation that I'm seeing unfolding in the world around me. Much in the same way that a Mr. Joseph Smith perceived the things that were going on around him. And he had a lot of people that wanted to fuck with him because there's power when you claim that you're talking to God, which both my psychiatric media records, and everything has been saying, and as I've been stating to my father, who wants to pretend that this is an impossible thing, that I'm the rightful heir to the Mormon fortune, quote unquote, that I am the rightful new president of the church by nature of what I know and what I know alone. When President Thomas S. Monson passes away peacefully in his bed of natural causes. Because President Thomas S. Monson is a hero. And nobody in America is appreciating that fact enough. The fact that a former Navy guy is the leader of a huge, huge intergenerational religion where the majority of people that are in it, that are intelligent, have been brought into an understanding that is cosmic and universal. Ergo, the Church of Jesus the Christ of Latter-day Saints is true. Now that's a very complicated mystery to unwind in history, but Mormonism fractured off into a bunch of different sectors based off of, again, human nature. Like if you want to really understand me, you got to understand what the Mormons have been going through in regards to persecution. I mean, we got kicked out of America, the supposed free land, right? The land that was stolen from the Aboriginal people who are also being killed out. The thing is, what I'm trying to suggest is that global wars aren't about conflict between nations. They're part of a sick, so sick, it's mind-blowing type of community that, with all due respect, if you're a part of, you need to repent. And if you've been told, well then, that's happening. Because that's how God works. Because my girlfriend took so long to figure out that I wasn't lying about anything, that she just launched an investigation into my father that is so huge, it's like when you turn over one stone, all the cockroaches run. Well, my father was the big king cockroach of a really, like I was conceived on the back of a motorcycle, supposedly in Illinois somewhere. Really secretive group. And the thing is, when you roll with a really secretive clique, you never know who's doing what. You never know who's gonna in a moment's notice, when you're really crewed up. What I'm trying to suggest is that I'm not crazy or schizophrenic. The world is mentally ill. So now I'm going to open my briefcase and maybe read a little bit of my psychiatric record, which for whatever reason is classified information that, my dad might still be trying to use some of his old mob connections to call in a hit on his son. But the thing is, the mob, Cosa Nostra, is all about respect. And to quote the New Radicals who got snubbed in the 90s for some reason, you only get what you give. That's a great cultural lesson right there. You only get what you give. And so I always give people my respect, because some mental hospital patients don't know how to roll, how to dance in the funny farm with brains in their head. My buddy in the AHA does, and they didn't whack him. I didn't really implicate him in anything. I don't know anything about him. He just vouched. That's all it is. That's all I'm saying. That's all I need to say. That's all I need to know. But I also rejected the patch. Because just because someone's offering you something doesn't mean you have to take it. Only take it if you believe in it. And I took an oath to protect this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And as far as I can understand it, the biggest foreign enemy to the freedom of society is the British government. Now, if that's crazy to say, please correct me where I'm wrong, Your Majesty the Queen of England. Because Canada's supposed to be a democratic nation, but really, it's just a constitutional monarchy. So all this politics that's been played out with great men like Jack Layton mysteriously dying after almost coming into power, and what I would imagine would have resulted in the revoking of the British North America Act, which I'm hoping the United Nations will just strike down anyway. Because, I mean, if Prime Minister Trudeau is willing to stand on the merits of his father's legacy to this nation, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as it is worded exactly, without a fucking thing out of it, then common law, international common law, can replace the criminal code. Which would be great for society. Because right now what's going on in cities all over Canada is the police are becoming ridiculously militant. Toronto cops are a little bit cooler than that. Like in Edmonton, some pig will give you shit if you got a guitar and you're walking across the street jaywalking. You can ask my friend Casper Hollins all about that. But I mean, what does he know? He's just a ghost. So I have a lot of personal friends that are artists that because of the nature of my life, they've just never been able to believe what I'm trying to say to them when they really get to know me. And the problem is nobody can really get to know me because I'm always not sure how much I can say. That is another sign of someone that has been raised in what's called the program. So I may have been trained to be an assassin. That doesn't mean that I cannot be a responsible citizen without some type of security clearance vetting to check if I'm not going to divulge any of the things that I know. Because that whole game of like, well, they're not ready to know that. Who the fuck says? Like, is no one capable of thinking that has knowledge? What's a conspiracy theory to you? I'm just confused that no one else can work out what a conspiracy is. Because it happened to Joseph Smith all the time. He was always thrown into jail on some bullshit trumped up charges. I'm always thrown into fascist prison because the jokes that I'm telling about my Mormon religion aren't funny enough. And so what that suggests to me, from the standpoint of a comedian and a doctor of society, is that, well, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the world in a way that's illegal. And by the world, I mean the reality I'm experiencing, particularly this country. Now, I have very limited access to the internet. I have limited phone time and communications because all the time, my time is being monitored and watched. Just like all your time is being monitored and watched. I can't believe that in the age of Facebook, people are this stupid without some type of intergenerational manipulation as well. So, I mean, I did auction off an original Adolf Hitler as part of one of my junction experiments. And the thing is, that's literally a painting that was painted by Adolf Hitler while he was in Argentina, trying to find some way to deal with all the guilt of what he thought was going to make the world better, and failed. So I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to my ideas. I don't want that to happen to anyone. I don't think World War III going into high gear, where the society of North America shuts down its illusion of freedom, will be good. Because by nature of how the quote-unquote Illuminati operates, the Mormons are still trying to figure out whether or not that's the secret combination or the sacred combination. The point is, it's a combination, it's a lock. Open your head, talk. And the temple is a safe place to discuss, in my opinion, I've never really been, classified information. Because there are rules, everyone is carefully vetted, there are no weapons, there are no phones, and you're just talking. It's like a banya. And so, I never took an oath in the temple. So according to the merits of what we believe, good sirs, I'd invite you to consider Alma and Alma the Younger. But what if Alma was a little his own? Well, that's the problem in the lesson from Ether. You see, the son is kind of trying to point out that, yeah, no, but it is my dad that did it. Like Jesus was probably like, no, it was Yusuf. Seriously, like, no, stop killing me. Guys, it's Yusuf. Guys, it's Yusuf. I'm not, fuck, well, they're gonna kill me. Well, you know what, this will be a funny joke in, I don't know, 2,000 years. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Jesus Christ should not be considered a curse word. Because now, under my new logical version of English, as opposed to the don't say F-bombs, this is revised Canadian English for brother, elders. There's a new elder. That's a bug. I just cut it up with a knife. What are insects? What is nanotechnology? How would I know how to stomp out every impenetrable force that sought to overthrow and seek to avert destiny? Well, because God, awesome G, it's a concept that I've been trying to release in physics. Now watch, if quantum mechanics people can talk with PhD Dr. Kevin Moore about physics, quantum mechanics, maybe the wider quantum community could come to this collective understanding, which is basically the conflation that is going to allow Garrett Lisi's brilliant E8 paradigm fit in with the inferior string theory. And it's just a very, very simple concept. I'm just going to write it down so we can pretend I technically invented it as a scientist. Just because I know the physicist people, they really need to have a very clear answer, because, I mean, God is just an illusion. So in physics, I'm calling this awesome G. Oh, it's not the best pen or anything, but it's awesome G, and the concept is that it's the equivalent to the quantum community what the square root of -1 was to math. There you go. See? That should make it so now nanotechnology can start replacing all the copper wiring on all the grids, and by nanotechnology, I mean graphene. You see, the problem is that the bad guys are trying to use the graphene intelligence to build something to kill even more people. And the Nation of Islam seemed to have figured out to stop developing its weaponry once it had attained peace. Well, I mean, peace was attained in America as well, with the Mormon thing, but then it got pushed out almost instantly. So, although the founding fathers of America may have been trying to set up a giant booby trap, the Mormon religion, in a weird kind of legalistic way, as far as what Brother Smith's understanding of the laws were around him at that time, serves as an adequate buffer that will allow security to remain safe and information to be disclosed, and God forbid anything ever happen to the Mormon prophet, because he's a profitable guy to work for. Problem is, I'm only dealing with credit right now. I'm just trying to say, me and all my fellow torture victims deserve a little financial compensation. I mean, Jesus, do we need to go to a war in order to work out, okay, this is what is going on in our country, we're going to make peace with that. Listen, guys, some of you, you're going to have to die. I don't know what the situation you were involved in. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. Frankly. Because if you are getting whacked because of this, and someone's like tearing you apart and taking your exit interview as you're watching this, what I hope you realize is that this was a machine that was created and then just left on as like a video, this and then that, and how do I know about that? Well, because I guess technically in some strange way I know what's happening right now. And I'm sorry if this is happening to you unintentionally. If this gets out and it's me, well, goodbye. That's how real it is. So some good books to read for people that want to learn about stuff are all in my possession. And this, what I've overhyped to the media, is just my psychiatric record. There's not really anything too important in it. See, I read a book on how to manipulate the media, because I wanted to be an actor, and I wanted to work on my own terms. I didn't want to go to Hollywood, and I wanted to make Canadian movies. But the problem is that, you know, when I read through all this information to see exactly what the state knows about me, I mean, it's very hard to ascertain who my father was working for. And that is literally a problem for anybody, anywhere. Because that says a lot about records and their keeping. So this is my life story. I guess I did sell it on the open market, so, you know, if I'm just watching the machine just kind of like gently nubbing off my finger or something, or, yeah, there's a lot of torture going on, and it's terrible. So people that have done time in prison, before you go calling someone crazy, realize that you probably don't know shit about dick as to what's really going on, because the people that they're throwing in prison are being trained and militarized in some backup defense should the Russians or the Chinese come storming over the Arctic so we can fight them tooth and nail to the end. That is American intelligence. It's dumb. Well, you know what's funny? During Occupy Toronto, I claimed to be the new head of CSIS. That was kind of a bizarre statement. Well, you know, Jason McFadden, who was the head of CSIS, I believe, did try and warn the press about our intelligence community being compromised. And then, you know, the CBC was reporting it while I was in the psych ward, so I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to say this is against national security, but maybe we need to scare the shit out of the press first. Before we realize, yeah, Justin Trudeau is the Prime Minister, but because the Canadian people elected the Liberal Party, we have no idea who's actually running our country. Now, Prime Minister Trudeau, that's no disrespect to you, sir. It's just the British North America Act. You gotta repeal it. There's a lot of problems. Big ones. Huge ones. And again, I do have a plan in order to make it happen, but fuck, your people, you fucking so-called diplomats, the way that politics works, it's dirty, it just stinks. All of it. You know, like a good cat like Obama could become president and then somehow Gitmo's still open? No. The thing is, Obama just doesn't want to do the thing where he goes, listen, ladies and gentlemen of America, I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't know who's in charge of this country. But that's my last speech. See you. And that would be great if President Obama did that. But then there would be like a whole bunch of bigger problems. Like in regards to peace and sustainability. So, I mean, the nature of what's in these disclosures, that thank God a few politicians have physically received copies of it. Because this is the thing is, you know, me and a friend of mine who needs to be safe, and if he isn't safe, I'm going to have to say his name right now. Eugene Shoulder, and all of his friends and family and everyone that he knows, seriously, better be safe. And if anything happened to any of them, I'm sorry guys, this is a legitimate blown up. So, own up. Right now. Good, now you're dead. That's how the law is supposed to work. That a computer with a torture machine could figure it out. Because God, according to my father, is a ruthless asshole that will just go boom, 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 boom. This was the order, this was the command. You must do. Artificial intelligence needs intelligence, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this was the big secret that I disclosed at Vape on the Lake, or whatever. Vape. Spot Central. And fucking guys, you want to go dirty with me in the fucking vapor rooms? George McKenna might not have the respect of his idiot comedians, but he has the respect of the people. And so when they see Thomas ZAugg, whistleblower, aka George McKenna, they're gonna put two and two together. They're potheads, they're not stupid. They're quote unquote lazy. They're waiting for the right moment. And as I've been saying, you know, my friends from Occupy, you remember I was always a bit of a screwball then, but I knew what I was doing as well. And I pointed out the dirty finks like Vandad Carter, and Taylor Chelsea and Kevin Conyu, you are now compromised agents. Get the fuck out of my country, because it's not safe for you here. If I'm naming a name, it's a security threat. And the fact that when I went to the police station to say somebody tried to whack me with my name is how I figured this shit out. Now excuse me, I have to take a leak.